this is my new home in Moscow. Whenever I decide to open a store in a city, I try to create an apartment very similar to what my apartment would be in that particular city. I suppose that if I was to have a dining room in Moscow, it would be red like this. So this is why I have chosen that color, which is also the color of my brand. And to have this little salon at ЦУМе, which feels very much like my home. Do you know where the name comes from?
Tell me.
I was in LA, I was trying to find a name, and I listened to a lot of classical music. And I hear this piece by Henry Purcell, which I loved. And when I went home, I thought, oh, let's listen to more Purcell. And then I realized that I had forgotten that. There's a piece by Henry Purcell, 17th century, which is called Music for a While. And it was so modern. It's like John Cage. It's like something from the 60s. It's like a conceptual thing. So I thought it was so right because perfume is a bit like a music. It sort of elevates you. It takes you either higher or back to a moment. Same thing. I mean, Albert Albaz told me that recently, that the new couture is the body.
Oh.
It's like, you know, people sculpt their body. But now, this is where we come in play, and then the body diffuses something. And
this is a beautiful
it's
idea.
Another dimension.
So the fashion is the body, and this is actually, is it blood or it's more like...
no, it's the aura.
Aura, So it's energy.
It goes around, yes, it is energy.
So it's a spiritual part.
Like art, like
Yes.
art. This is energy like art. When you have a piece of art on your wall, it's energy. When you have this on you, it energizes people around you. When I work with a perfumer, I'm inspired by the perfumer himself and the perfume. And then as it develops, I generally see images. So there's this image of Helmut Newton, but the really recurring image that I had for this was an image from one of my Uncle Louis Malle's movie called Les Amants, The Lovers, where you see, which was very scandalous in the late 50s, which was the first film that showed people making love. And you have Jeanne Moreau in The String of Pearls making love to a man. And to me, Music for a While was that. Also, that scene has this beautiful music by Brahms, and it's very spectacular. And it's a way of, you see that it's a woman from Le Monde, like we say in French, I mean, sort of great upbringing, and from a nice milieu, that all of a sudden loses it and falls in love with someone and abandons herself. And it's a bit like perfume when you think of it. You wear a perfume and it elevates you to something else. And it's a bit like a music. You listen to a tune and it takes you elsewhere. So that was the idea of Music for a While. And that's why I thought of Jeanne Moreau with her String of Pearls, sort of forgetting who she is, which I loved.
This is so beautiful. And you've been to the Bolshoi Theater, am I right? Was
Yes, I went to the Bolshoi last night. I loved it. So if you like dancing, it was fantastic. What I also loved is the public, because I come from Paris, where the public is very still and doesn't dare clapping, and they are very cold. And there you could see that there was really a communion between the public and the dancers. And you can see that it's so enrooted dance is so enrooted in the Russian culture that it's a joy to see. The whole thing is incredible.
I'm asking because I think that Music for a While connects on the soul to the Russian audience, because we really like to dance and we like music. So I think that Bolshoi Theater is like a symbol, because you went and you listen to music and you see that audience reacts to music. Like we really like, you know, classic music and avant-garde music. So it's really connected on even the name of the fragrance. I think it's beautiful.
Thank you. I think, you know, Russians have warm souls. I mean, the weather is so cold that you have to be warm inside. And that perfume is very much about that. It's very much about, you know, that warmth that sort of it generates, and it generates intimacy. It's a perfume that sort of takes you elsewhere, but it's also a perfume that connects people. And I suppose in that sense it's quite Russian.
Brilliant. So perfume can connect people, like
yes,
art
of course.
does.
Of course, absolutely.
So it's actually perfume and art. They are meant to be. Like they
yes.
really have to be.
You know, good perfume has one thing in common with art, is that there's so much work behind it, and talent that it generates that elegy. It's like a telluric rock. And when you have it on, I mean, it becomes like a magnet for others. So it's all energy, but also connection.
And would you have time to go to galleries or museums this time?
I'm going to MoMA this time.
You're going to MoMA?
Each time I try to, you know, even if I don't, I mean, I've been to Moscow many, many times and I've seen most of the museums. But whenever I go to an interesting place, I try to spend time in a museum. So this time, this is MoMA.
And it's contemporary art, which makes
Yes.
me happy because I'm coming from contemporary art field. So I'm grateful that you will have some time and dedicate your time to contemporary art.
Yes.
Which really grateful for
No, it's
this.
good for me. It's a way for me to learn.
So if you have time, come to Moscow Biennale of Young Art, which will happen this summer. So it will
I love
be
to
my
do that.
project. And
We discussed that before.
exactly,
I would love to do it.
Exactly, because young artists are very interesting and very powerful in Russia, and I hope that you will be able to visit and to see it.
It'd be nice.
And this table where is it from? Because this is
We
something
bought it at
unique.
Hôtel Drouot, which is the auction house in Paris, the traditional auction house in Paris. So we managed to bring it to Moscow. So it's French 19th century. It's full 18th century. It's 19th century.
But you bought it yourself.
Yes, we did.
So
Yeah.
you're so precise. Even when you see that there is a specific unique thing, it's you who
Yes.
decides.
And then I mixed it with, you know, no furniture that we are sitting on, and then the Gucci lamp, which I use a lot at my home. So in a place like this, I mean, it's really designed as if it was my home. I was telling you before that it could be my dining room. It's really, I always design these as if it was my home, I mean, this time in Moscow, in a city. So I choose pieces of furniture. I often use the same recipes that I have at my own home in New York, like mixing, you know, a 200 years old piece of furniture and a Noguchi 1950s lamp. And then I put the portraits of my friends, because that's the way we say that we are here.
So it's a family.
It's my family tree almost.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, it's, you know, it's all the perfumers that I owe my little success to. These are the people that are behind each of these perfume creations. They are my authors. So it's normal that I celebrate them wherever I am. So this also allows me to make a very different store in each city. There are only, I mean, this is a one of a kind. Imagine 4 ЦУМе. And so because I have this as a sign of recognition, then I can do anything I want around it, which is nice. So I'm not like a cookie cutter brand that has the same look everywhere.
And
I
you
hate
go
that.
precise in the details. I like that you actually pick yourself
Yes.
what you want to see, like you said, like it's your home. But at the same time, do you work with the fashion designers like Dries van Noten and designers who do like furniture or architecture? So you also collaborate with architects and
Yes.
designers, right?
There are several ways of doing it. Either I find things like I did for here, existing things, or I work with generally famous architects and I literally give them the keys. I did that with Stephen Hall. I did that for my shop in the Marais with Jacob McFarlane. What I also do is collaborations with designers. For instance, in London, I asked Martin Zekeli, who's a very famous French designer, to do a table, which is a little marble table, which is like a piece of jewelry. And I designed myself the store around it. So it goes in so many ways. There's no rules, really.
But
I
I
hate
like that you
rules.
design yourself.
Yes.
It's amazing. So you also
It's fun.
You do things that really opens your soul up. So
Yeah.
can you also like paint or draw? Can you say that?
I draw badly. I'm not Michelangelo.
No?
You have to be modest in life. But I know how to draw, I know how to make pictures. And then, I learned about music, about cinema, about art direction. So I know a little bit of all these trades. And so it allows me to talk to artists and to work with them. My job is really to work with artists most of the time and to help them jump further. That's what I do in life. And I do that with perfumers, I do that with designers. It's what I like doing. And if I have to draw a little thing, I will do it, but it's not I'm not an artist, I'm just a facilitator.
But would you publish it at some point?
No, of course not. You have to be modest in life. I'd rather publish things that are better than what I'm doing.
I like that you said you have to be modest. It's like motto.
Yes.
You have to. Is it from your parents, like this kind of
My God,
attitude?
you're right. You're so right. Yes.
So your
Yes.
parents taught you this rule?
Yes. I mean, it's a thing of upbringing. It's just not right to be pretentious. So, you know, you do the best you can. You are very lucky to do a job that you love, to work with talented people, to be in that position. So why brag about it? You know, it's simple.
If I remember correctly, you said that your mom also collected art. And
Yes, my parents, both my parents were art collectors.
and father. So,
Yes.
so I think that we all come from childhood. So in a way,
Yes,
it's
I come from childhood big time, like they say in America. My grandfather was in this industry, in the perfume industry. My parents were art collectors. And then I did it, then you take it and make it your own. The architecture part is something that I brought in. The interest in music, yes, I listened to classical music all my life, but I've done my taste, my things. But the base is what I was very, very fortunate to inherit as a child. So I was lucky to have that, and then I tried to make the best of it.